Hi, it's Titi here for My Sacred Blood. Welcome or welcome back to the only channel on YouTube that focuses exclusively on truly holistic menstrual care. If you are watching this from the website, do consider joining the mailing list by filling out the little form below. And of course, share this video with at least one person who you feel will benefit from this content. In this video, I want to talk about the link between menstrual health and mental health. In previous videos, I talked about how stress impacts your period and some of the ways that you can manage your stress so that you're able to avoid some of the illnesses that are related to menstruation or period-related mental issues. In this video, I want to look a little closer at some of those period-related mental health issues. The history of how we got to where we are right now in our understanding of menstruation or the pathology of menstruation, and some of the ways that you can better manage your cycle so that you can avoid those types of illnesses altogether. Now, I do have to say that, of course, I am not a medical professional. Holistic menstrual mentors are not medical professionals, and it's not the goal of holistic menstrual care to either replace or to challenge mainstream medicine. The goal is to give you all the tips and the tools and the support that you need in order to avoid ever having to need medical attention for menstruation related illnesses, because then you'll better be able to manage your cycle, manage your stress, and avoid some of the problems that eventually lead to mental health issues. So first, let's take a look at why stress management is so important, and then we'll take a look at the pathologization of the menstrual cycle, and then I'll offer you 3 tips or techniques that you can use to help reduce stress and to avoid some of these problems.
Whenever your body feels stressed, or if ever you feel as if there's a threat to your own survival, whether real or perceived, your brain will release adrenalines. Those adrenalines, such as norepinephrine and epinephrine, are released into the bloodstream. When adrenalines in the bloodstream reaches the adrenal gland, it produces the corticosteroid cortisol. High levels of cortisol leads to an increase in glucose. High blood glucose leads to an increase in appetite, weight gain, diabetes, heart disease, and it can also contribute to premenstrual dysphoric disorder. How so? If the body's busy making corticosteroids in order to ensure its survival, it can't make enough of the sex steroid, progesterone, that a menstruating woman needs in order to stay regular and to stay balanced. The pathologization of the reproductive system began long before the term hysteria was ever coined in the Common Era. But I'll begin this timeline with the notion held by a Hippocratic gynecologist for centuries, and that is the notion of the wandering womb, that the hystera, or the womb, had a mind of its own, a will of its own, and moved around the body. This was known as the structurally hysterical womb. Sometime around the late 1800s, the psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud coined the term hysterical conversion disorder, which eventually became conversion disorder and replaced the hysterical wandering womb. An Austrian physiologist by the name of Eugen Steinach, who was credited as being one of the pioneers of endocrinology, was one of the first to study the connection between hormones and sex.
Steinach also speculated that X-rays could be used to accelerate the menopause, triggering hormonal changes that could cure mental illness.
Freud was so inspired by the works of Steinach that when a doctor who was treating Alice von Battenberg, the mother of the late Prince Philip, had requested his services to help ease Alice's hysteria, Freud figured that if Alice didn't have periods, then she could be cured of her mental illness. And so he decided on a very controversial treatment. He decided that he would induce menopause as a way to reduce her libido and to cure her mental illness. By 1953, research led by Dr. Katerina Dalton led to the discovery of what is now known as premenstrual syndrome. Her research revealed that premenstrual syndrome developed as a result of a decrease in progesterone. In 1987, a new period-related disease emerged. By 1998, Eli Lilly and Company started testing fluoxetine, aka Prozac or Atifen, as a possible treatment for what was then known as late luteal phase dysphoric disorder. And then by 2008, late luteal phase dysphoric disorder officially became premenstrual dysphoric disorder.
All right, so what are some of the ways that you can reduce stress in order to reduce the amount of adrenaline in your bloodstream, so that you can reduce the amount of glucose in your bloodstream, and so that you can reduce the chances of getting one of these menstruation-related mental illnesses? The first thing, of course, is to start considering your menstruation holistically, to look at the entirety of your cycle from menarche until where you are at the present, and to treat menstruation not only during that time of the month, but to care for your menstruation cycle throughout the entirety of the cycle. So throughout the whole 28-day or so cycle, to pay attention to your body, pay attention to the communication that's going on between your body and the brain, between your reproductive system and the brain, and to take control of that conversation, what's essentially just a conversation between chemicals. You can control your hormones, and you can balance your hormones all throughout the cycle so that it's not going to affect you or shock you or stress you out when you get to the menstrual phase of the cycle. So that's the first thing, to start looking at your period holistically and not just during bleeding period. The second thing that you can do is have an action plan in place, an action plan that includes a stress relief plan. And when you have this action plan incorporated into your holistic menstrual care routine, then you always have a go-to kind of stress relief plan that no matter what kind of stress you're under, no matter what type of change comes into your life, and when it comes into your life, that you will always have a strategy in place to handle it when it comes along. And then finally, of course, there are going to be times when you are stressed. Things are going to take us by surprise, and you're not going to be able to anticipate it or to see it come in or even to stop it before it comes. So in that case, when you do experience stress, when your body is under stress, and by the time your adrenalines are already going and your hormones are already out of control, one of the best ways to control that is with intermittent fasting. So even if it's just 1 or 2 days of fasting, it will reduce some of the glucose in your blood, and then you can get back to balance. All right, so quickly to summarize, the first thing that you can do is look at your period holistically so that you can understand the entirety of your cycle. Number 2 is that you can have a holistic menstrual care routine that includes a stress relief plan, a go-to, sustainable, and reliable stress relief plan. And then finally, number 3 is include intermittent fasting in your stress relief plan. That way, if stress hits you when you least expect it, at least you can attack it by shutting it down to reduce the glucose in your bloodstream. And if you don't know where to begin when it comes to creating your own holistic menstrual care routine, check out the website. There are digital coaching sessions available for download there, and it's a fully integrated strategy for cyclical living. So check that out. And also, you are always welcome to sign up for a live group session that takes place on the first Sunday of every month. And so you can sign up for that. And that is it for this one. I hope that helps. Remember, I am here every moon day at noon. That is Eastern time. And until the next one, take care of yourself.